Happy
Tuesday at
Tuesday.
2. Our first time
Yes.
going live Tuesday at 2. We're trying something new out. We'll see if this is a good time for everybody. But so thanks for joining me, Miss Cece. How's your day going
Yes.
so well?
It's going good. I have my flirt cup with me,
I love it.
and I'm in my brick and mortar office, which a lot of you don't get to see. Usually I'm home and I have a different decor, but since we're doing Tuesday at 2, I'm here at the brick and mortar. So you'll see me more here than at my house.
Yes, I love that. And today it was hard though to want to come inside because like what is it, 80 degrees? I think they said the record is 83 on today. What is today? April 29th. So it's 80. We might even break the records. That'd be cool. I'm all in for
Wow.
that. I'm all in
Yeah.
for that.
There's cars that have their tops down.
Oh gosh,
Motorcyclists
yes.
are outside. Everybody, I don't think, wants to be in. And actually, my hair was straight and went poof.
Mine does the
Humidity.
opposite.
See,
So
look how
yeah,
big it got. She's going to have a different personality moving forward. So
yeah.
we're gonna see the different phases of Cece's hair
Cece's
in the
hair.
next couple months. It's
I love
going to
it.
be hilarious.
So mine is opposite. On Friday, I curled it really good. And then it rained, but I had an umbrella and we were out, all that moisture. The next morning I woke up, it was almost straight. And I was like,
Um,
mine does the opposite. Too much moisture like weighs it down and it goes back to its original. I think that's what happens. It just goes back to its original status when in the moisture.
oh,
Like in
mine
Florida,
gets
I don't even bother.
Yeah, mine gets a
It's too,
bigger, lighter. It's just expands
yes, it just wants to
beautifully.
come out and play. But
Yes.
I'm excited because this means obviously it's April. We're seeing, the market is starting to change. Um, a little slower start, I would say, to this market this year. And we typically see that just with, winter, but the rates and all the headlines and all the things. And so what I thought would be fun for us to talk about today, people here always see the headlines, what's going on in real estate. We just got over the whole NAR a year ago. It's been a year. May, what is it? Hey Varsh, thanks for joining. Was it May 9th? No, it was August. It was August. We started talking about it in May, but we're almost up to a year on when that whole NAR thing hit, right? So, when they were, they changed the way commission was not allowed to be put on the MLS and different, the way that we discussed it really wasn't supposed to be any different, but different contracts. So it's almost like we're just getting out of all of that. It was kind of like the waters are all crazy. And then it felt like, okay, all right, so we're good now, right? And then all of a sudden, nope, no, we are not
Mac?
good. We are not good yet. We're not good because now Zillow and Compass, and it's not really a Zillow against Compass thing, but Compass has been more vocal about their side and Zillow has their side. And so I thought it would be interesting to talk about this real estate war that we have between this mogul of Zillow, who, let me just say, let me preface this by saying Zillow's whole end game is to basically have a monopoly and own real estate. They
You
want,
can't have a monopoly.
that's what they want. They want to have, like, they want to be the end
The
all be
one-stop shop like
yes,
Amazon, the convenience.
yes,
They want to be the
yes,
convenience for real estate.
they
And
do,
you and
and they
I
want to
talked
cut
about
everybody else
that.
out. They
Yeah.
they they've used agents over the years, acting like they're friends with agents. They've used agents, premier partnerships to pay them for leads so that it can feed their monster and get their income, and they're this huge conglomerate that they now are, to at some point turn around. We have talked about before. Maybe we'll circle back to it. But the whole point today, Zillow has put out a statement. I don't know how long ago it was. They will not allow a listing to be syndicated to their platform if it has been marketed outside of the MLS for more than 24 hours. So For example, if let's say I have a listing and I decide that I want to market it to just people in my brokerage or even just people in my office, and I'm doing that, and Zillow finds that out, and I have basically, put it out through email, through social media, different app, different on the website, maybe even my brokerage website, but I don't have it through the MLS, and they find out. And you can do that. You can have a pocket listing. There are rules. In 2020 they rewrote the rules. I don't know all the rules, honestly. I don't even bother to read through all of them. But NAR has a set of rules that you have to follow if you are doing marketing a pocket listing. But Zillow is saying if you're doing that for more than 24 hours, when you do go on the MLS, we're not going to let your listing be on our platform. So that seller's listing will not be seen anywhere on, I won't be on Zillow.
They just
Huh?
want to control the data. So Compass is more personalized.
Yes, Compass is
Zillow
is a
is
brokerage.
more, they rely heavy on data and technology to attract leads. And that's a big thing I want to bring up is the word leads. For
Hmm.
the people who don't know, that don't know a real estate agent, don't know a lender, then you can go on Zillow, you can go on some of these platforms and look for one as well. And we get charged that.
Hmm.
There's a charge that goes with that lead.
Hmm.
So Zillow is a lead generator as well as what's a be everything
Yep.
all in one. What Compass is just more personalized.
Yeah, and Compass is a brokerage. And technically, Zillow did get their MLS credentials, but they don't really qualify as a brokerage. I think they had to get that status, but they're not really like you can work with, you can be a Zillow Premier agent, but Zillow isn't a brokerage per se. I can't say like I'm with EXP, I'm with Keller Williams, I'm with Zillow. Not yet. That's what they want. Like they want that. They had their iBuyer thing where they controlled, some listings, but it's still not to that level yet. So Compass is a brokerage and they decided they want to be able to market to, let's say, sellers and buyers that, hey, we have an exclusive networking opportunity where only our agents will know about our listings for X amount of time, fill in the blank, whatever that is. We will have them marketed and posted on our website only. So, and they make it seem like it's so exclusive, like, oh, nobody else has access to our listings. Nobody else is allowed to come and see it, or anything. Buyers have to come through us to see that listing.
Which
So
is huge
it's
because
huge.
the difference between 24 hours, 48 hours, and 72 hours is vast. Now, if you guys have been following for a long time, you've heard me mention about purchasing a cabin within 1 minute. I bought it sight unseen, and it hit the MLS 6:59. I had my realtor on the phone. Unfortunately, not Holly because this was up north.
Yeah, no, that's
The
okay. I don't know anything about that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a up north
I could have
agent.
written an offer for you, but I didn't know the area. But yeah.
No, and when you're up there, it's one of those towns that it's important to work with a very local realtor. They all they all know each other.
Mm.
So by 7:01, she was like, "All right, done." So, and then she went and saw the property by 11 a.m. And so you move kind of quick. So just with that being said, that
Yes.
scenario that you guys hear that I personally went through, that 24 hours, people like me, if I have
Huge.
access to it through that brokerage, then I have that ability to buy a house before you,
Yes.
which that's huge to have, and Zillow doesn't want that.
No. Zillow doesn't want it. Here's the thing. I'm not a proponent of it, and I'll tell you why. Like we'll get to the end of it. For agents that work for Compass, oh, it's they're the only ones that really win. I will tell you why the only one that's going to win are agents that work for Compass. And potentially buyers that come through Compass. They're the only ones that will potentially have a win. Sellers will not. And Zillow doesn't. I kind of love that Zillow doesn't though. Zillow's nervous because again, we started off talking about how their whole goal is to take over real estate. Well, what Compass and any other brokerages that do this have essentially done is take a piece away from Zillow. They don't like that. They don't want anyone, any consumer to feel like there's a piece of real estate that they can't get to. Even if it's a smaller piece, even if it's whatever, they again in their minds it's a narcissistic engine. They want it all. They want to have their hand in every aspect, so they are like a jealous girlfriend, jealous boyfriend,
They don't
and
wanna
they
share the
don't want to
toys.
share. They don't
They don't
like
wanna
that.
share their toys on the
No.
playground. Nobody bench, no nothing.
No. But here's what's really funny about it. But if I'm a for sale by owner, I can go through Zillow. It's never going to hit the MLS. So that's why they'll say it's different. But they don't mind because then they have full control because now they know, oh, this is never on the MLS.
They
Perfect. We're the only ones that have it and all the other online sites. So it's almost like you have the unfair advantage when it's not on the MLS for sale by owners. Let it go that you might not get the advantage in this scenario, but they won't let it go. They're being petty. I think you mentioned the word petty, but in like when we were talking offline, and I like the
we
word
were.
petty. They're being petty about it because again, they're acting like a little tantrum, like, no, we want it all. You know what I'm saying? Mine, like a 2-year-old mine. I want it all. They don't want to not have it all.
Yeah.
So here's the thought to me. Let's pretend, Cece, you're the buyer. I'm get a sip of my coffee.
Okay. Ooh, how much am I spending
Ooh, $1
today?
million. You're spending a
Okay,
million. Okay. You
perfect.
are spending 2 million actually. You were a very choosy, you're a high level, you know what you want. It's got to be just so. You're a very specific buyer. Okay.
Okay,
You come to me because I am like the top agent at this brokerage, and you know for a fact that I have a lot of higher level clients that I work with. Okay. So you come to me and you're like, okay, Holly, I know I get to choose who I work with, but I know that you have any sellers right now or coming up? I've looked through the whole MLS, nothing. Nothing there for me. Absolutely nothing. I have scoured the internet. I've paid my people to scour the internet. Not one has found me anything that I like. But I think you might have something for me. Okay. So I tell you, yes, I do. There's a property that's going to be hitting in a couple of days. I talked to you about it. You're like, oh my gosh, it's absolutely perfect. I have to go see it. Okay. Now I call my seller who isn't on the MLS, but I am going to start marketing. By the way, I call him and say, hey, I was just going to put this on just our network, but I've already got a buyer that reached out to me. Sounds like she's hot to trot for what you have. Oh, the seller's excited and thinks, Holly Amato's the best agent that's ever walked on 2 legs. Oh my goodness. How could she already find a buyer for me? This is wow. You are definitely getting the full commission, girl, because you're amazing. Right? So seller's like really happy. You're really happy. And I'm really happy because what if I get both sides, right? I bring you through. You absolutely love it. You're willing to spend 2 million. Let's say the seller's going to list it if we went to market was going to list it like 185 ish. But
okay,
we come in and you're like, I'll give you 1.8 if you just don't go to market and we can lock it up right now. Okay? So, for some sellers that's going to make sense and we'll talk about that in a minute. That's going to make sense for some sellers. So that's great. You're happy. You could have went to 2 million and I found it for you at 1.8. So you're winning. The
mhm,
seller winning. They're getting exactly what they wanted in their mind if they would have listed. And they're like, oh, don't have to go through all the hassle. Don't have to like clean the house. Don't have to have it perfect for showings. Don't have to even consider an open house. Don't have to have any like red tape. It's already handled for us. Perfect. They're happy. Again, I'm thrilled because I'm getting both sides of it, right? I'm handling both sides. My commission is going to be better, likely. That's probably what I've worked out. Again, commissions are always negotiable, but I've worked it out with my seller that if I'm able to do this, this is what I get. If it has to go to the MLS and there's 2 agents, then this is what I get. It's probably going to be different, likely. I'm asking you now, In that scenario, why is this not always going to be the best scenario for the seller? Even though you're happy as the buyer because you got what you want. You're probably the biggest winner besides me because I'm making more commission because you've already looked through the whole internet. You already know there's nobody cute enough to take you to the dance. Not a single one. None
Well,
of them.
because they don't have the door fully open for others to come see their property. I locked it down well before that they got listed, which is a benefit for me. It could be
Yep.
benefit for a seller if they need to sell because they're buying another house, they have something else going on, it's in a trust, a parent passed away and they need to divide assets. As long as it's in a trust, then it can go pretty quick. So yeah, there are fire sales out there, but the
Fire
typical
sales. Yep.
seller really should have a weekend open and have time
Exactly.
on the market.
Exactly. And why is that? Why would you
Right.
want to go to the MLS and have at least one weekend?
I would want more money as a seller. See what's out there. You don't know. I mean, you're fishing in a small pond
Yep.
doing it this way.
Yep.
Now you're out in the Gulf of Mexico, America,
Gulf
whatever
of
you want.
America.
The Gulf of America. I don't know if I should have gotten political on that one, but you're
Well,
out
that's what
there.
it's
That's
called. What
different.
can you do?
But that's different bait
Yep.
versus saltwater versus um not saltwater. The I
Different bait,
lost
you
it.
were saying. You were
Yeah, but
thinking about
different
baiting the
bait.
hook in a different way. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yep.
they're right now listing it in such a small lake, which would be me, something like Encompass versus golf type of fishing where you need different stuff and they have the data. They have the search engines. They have the lead generations. They're on all the platforms, the Google, the Yahoo, all of those being and they're optimized. So
Mhm.
it's such a different story. So if you go live on the MLS, you go live on Zillow and the other platforms, it just got so much bigger because you don't know who's transferring. You don't know what you're going to get. Actually, you may not get a bite at all, and you're like, all right, well, I got this one. We're good.
And here's the thing about a $2 million buyer, especially here in Michigan. A lot of times, and not just in Michigan. Let's talk about New York. Let's talk about Miami. Let's talk about LA. Let's talk about the big markets where the most famous markets, if we will, where people want to really be. It's not always just a single family like it's not like they just need a house for their family. This could be a specific house, a second house, a third house. It could be anything. It could be, oh, my kid's getting married and I've got $2 million, I'm going to buy them a house. The point being is that your best buyer could likely be overseas. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's true. They could be. Sometimes people with deep pockets, they like to have different properties sprinkled around all kind of different areas, or they do business. They might be someone that's a diplomat, or they're out of the country a lot and they do business. The point is, I'm just saying Compass because they're the ones in the news. It doesn't matter what brokerage. I'm with EXP. Now, EXP agrees with Zillow, I need to say. EXP believes that it's a fair competition issue. Okay. So EXP is taking a little bit of heat because they are standing in alignment with Zillow. I understand why they're doing that. And I understand that argument. It is fair competition. I understand that. But when we don't allow for there to be like an exception to the rule, then we're almost like we're going towards what we don't want, which is a monopoly, right? Where everything has to be done a certain way and there's one process and one size fits all. In this scenario, it doesn't concern me as much because an educated seller that I'm going to sit down with, I'm going to say, this is not the best opportunity for you, Mr. Seller, because even if I think I have found the best buyer for you, there could be somebody better. And we will never know if we got you the best opportunity and the best profit on your investment. If I put it on the MLS, then I could have competition. Then we list it properly. It brings more people because it's all about exposure. The more people see it, the better your opportunity. That's what marketing is. You market to the masses to find the best buyer. Just sticking a sign in the ground. Again, you can sell a house yourself if you want. We have the statistics. You will get 9 to 17% less than you would have had you used an agent. So you're still not, even after commissions, you're still losing. Okay. It's the same concept. Number one, you don't know what you're doing. No offense, but you don't. You don't do this for a living. It's not easy, and you're not going to understand everything that could go wrong. You're going to find a buyer. I guarantee you will. I'm not saying you won't. Is it the best opportunity to you? It is not. You're leaving money on the table. This scenario, I believe, same thing. Unless you need a fire sale, or somebody just, they're famous and they don't want anyone to know they listed. That's another one. If no, they don't want anyone to know this house is being listed, or maybe they've got other family members and they're trying to keep it quiet because it's going to cause a problem. Who knows? Honestly, I mean, like, let's say a parent left a house to one of the siblings, and it's clear it's only for that one, and the other two, aren't happy about it, and maybe that he wants to just list it quickly, not let them know, because legally he can, or she can,
Hmm.
doesn't want all the family drama, doesn't want them to get to contest it. I don't know. There's different scenarios that would pop up, but it still doesn't mean that the seller's going to make the most money. It means that the seller's going to have less eyes, less exposure, less opportunity. It's not good for sellers. It's great for agents who work for those brokerages and have the opportunity to sound like they are a boutique and everything is bougie bougie, and you
Yes.
can only get it through me, because then it becomes a hot commodity. If you can only get it through me, I just became the most popular girl, and everyone's going to think I'm fantastic, which is wonderful. I would love to for everyone to think that. But
But it's
if my job is
unrealistic.
to right, if my job is to represent my client is not best represented in this specific arena unless it's one of those scenarios where they don't happen very often. It's
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
No, you brought up quite a few good points, especially keeping the value of a real estate agent
Right.
and them trying to take away the value. And I'm nervous about what I'm about to say. I'm nervous because
Disclaimer.
I don't want it to come true at all. But a lot of people are starting to forecast that real estate agents are going to now become like the 1%. Like
Right.
now,
Order takers. Yeah.
yeah.
They've been saying that. They've been saying that for a
And
while, the
I
iBuyer program, but they're getting closer and closer and closer to an actual scenario where they could make it happen. And people like the Zillows and the realtor.coms, which they own it, but that's the only way that could happen, is if they truly get what they want.
and they
So,
own
number
all the
one,
data.
right, and they own all the data. It's like, number 1, no agent with half a brain should be giving Zillow a single dollar. They should not be buying leads,
They
they should not
do.
be paying Zillow, but they do. So our own industry is not very smart,
It's
because
fueling.
they don't know how to get leads. They don't know how to get business any other way than to just, and they want to up their business. So they want to basically find a lead company. There are so many lead companies out there that you can buy leads from that aren't trying to steal the real estate industry from us. I'm sorry, I don't respect the agents who are lazy and just want to pay into a system that wants to turn around and cut us out. You got to open your eyes. Like, I-
Yeah.
it makes me crazy.
And then they're
It's
gonna complain later when it
Then they're going to
happens.
complain later that Zillow took over. Well, how much did you pay Zillow? Lenders have paid Zillow too, but lenders, I think, most of the time, not all the time, sometimes they want to, but a lot of times they get pulled in by an agent who's like, okay, you're my lender partner, split it with me because it's expensive, and the lender pays for half of the leads, and they do it together and they co-market it and all the things. So there's lenders that have paid into it as well. But I think that's more because they feel like, well, yeah, I mean, I want the agent to give me the business. And if they're going to actively get the business, it's a good cost for me because I'm going to get the business. Because unless Zillow decides to take over lending as well, which they could, why not? It's not as big of a concern. But then you have, other companies that are trying to take over lending.
Yes.
Sip.
It's heavy.
It's
It's
a lot.
heavy.
It's a lot. And so we do have a little bit of time left. So I will go into why, for a consumer, Why is this a bad idea for consumer? Let's say the worst happens and every real estate agent is now just pink slipped. We don't exist. If you want to buy or sell a house, you have to go through Zillow. Okay. So right off the gate, that's already not great when you don't have opportunities and options because whatever Zillow says is what you have to do. Whatever their fees are, those are the fees, or you're going
And
to have to
there's
sell
no
your own house.
human. There's no one
And
to
there's no,
talk to.
well, if there's a human, I will tell you, I believe what Zillow will have to do, they're out in Washington, right? So they're not
They
in
are
the markets. They will
Seattle.
keep, I think they will have agents or they will have whatever they use to look through the data because even with the best AI and even with the best data that they have, if you don't walk through that listing and see what the condition of that house is, you can't accurately give it a price. You can't accurately market what it's worth. That house could have been completely updated to the nines, or it could have been used as a boarding kennel for a bunch of dogs that tore it apart. Okay. So you don't know
Yeah.
what the house looks like inside without a human being walking through it. So I don't think they're going to be able to 100% knock us out of it unless they have a way of like, okay, go through and take a video of it. I mean, they could probably get around, have the seller do that. But what happens is even if their costs are less, let's say, they're not going to work as hard as a human being who doesn't eat and pay their bills if they don't sell something. They're not going to worry about negotiating for you. They're going to be like, okay, this came up on the inspection, and now they want 5,000 in concessions. Just give it to them. They're not going to fight for you. They're not going to. They wouldn't have a reason to have to because where are you
No,
going? Where are
because
you going?
within the algorithm that potentially could be written or has been written already, they can take that into consideration of like brackets of how much things cost. But until you get eyes on it and problem solve it, it may think that, oh, the water heater has to be replaced. It's like the thermocouple would have to
Yeah,
be replaced, not the full
right.
thing. So that's unfair to the seller, and then the buyer and having to get it done on time. Feel like I'm on a
There's
soapbox.
there's so
There's
much
a
with the
lot.
transactions. And then
Mhm.
there's also the, let's say, the lending side isn't going so well and it gets to where it's supposed to close and all of a sudden they can't close. So now Zillow's, "All right, we're going back in the market, I guess." It's they don't really have a reason to work hard for you. That you Healthy competition is great. There's Mercedes and there's BMW. I'm more of a Mercedes girl. If Mercedes goes out of business tomorrow, that doesn't mean I'm automatically going to buy a BMW. But if there's no other cars to choose from, I guess I'm getting a BMW. I don't really even like them, but
Really? I like them.
they're okay. I'm just whatever, they're fine. But
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm now, if I want a car, I'm buying a BMW, but I just have to take whatever they are willing to give me because it's the only car that's available. I like having choices of cars. I like checking different payments. I like the fact that mine is a gas car. I don't want an electric car or a hybrid, but there are people who do. Good for you. You have options. That's the beautiful thing about competition. Competition keeps pricing under control and
Humbled.
humbled. And I know that there are thousands of agents in my area that a seller or a buyer can give their business to. So I am actively working to be the very best I possibly can because I want to earn their business. If I all of a sudden am the only agent you can use in Macomb Township, let's say, am I now? I still would because that's who I am. But am I going to be like really incentivized to work super hard if I know that anybody who wants to buy or sell in my town has to use me? Think about that. That's great for me. I don't know if it's great for the
Yeah,
consumers.
but when you're used to cherry picking like that and it's very easy, there's a I don't want to say the word lazy. I hate to say it, but there is a portion of that like, oh, well, I don't have to hustle. I
Right.
don't have to
The
be
business is coming to me.
100%. My reputation doesn't matter. For us, our reputation matters. So we need
Mhm.
to keep that hustle good. We need to stay on top of it.
Absolutely. Think about this. There are title companies and lenders who sit in real estate offices. Why do they do this? Because they are hoping to get some percentage of the business that comes through there. Some teams will, if it's a lead that they give you, they will say it has to go to this lender. Now, the lender may also be paying for a portion of the lead. Sometimes they're not, though. Sometimes if they're using Zillow leads, you're paying for the lead. You pay at
Mm,
closing and it's the lender didn't pay for squat, and the title company didn't do anything at all except sit in that office, but they're just getting your business. And that's one of the things you agree to if you're an agent in that office, let's say. Okay. Now, again, there are rules with like the client has every right to choose their settlement services. So they could say, nope, I want to use a different lender. That's my sister's brother's friend. Yes, of course you can. But it's strongly encouraged that the agents potentially use this lender, this title company. How hard are you going to work as that lender when you know there's 30 agents in this office? Yeah, they do it. There's transactions coming through this office of at least 50 a month ish, 40, 50 a month. I mean, even if I'm only getting half of those, let's say half of those are buyers, I can golf today. Lead gen,
mhm,
what? I don't have to lead gen. I have all these other people that are just going to hand me business. I want to be in that
yeah.
industry where someone just hands me business. That's
But
not
that's what
good.
Zillow is trying to do
That's
because
not good.
they want to be the convenience of the industry.
Right. And they're going to package it that way to the consumer. We're going to handle everything for you and we're going to charge you less. You're not going to have as many fees. But I always tell sellers, if I'm up against another agent who's willing to slash their commission, what I
Oh,
like to say is this: if I was a newer agent or an agent that didn't have as much experience, and maybe not even new, but just not as good, let's just say, and I knew that I had to go up against an agent like me, the first thing I'm going to do is ask myself, how can I look like the better opportunity for you? And I'm hoping that you're going to think if I'll take less for my services, you're going to see that as such a value that you're not even maybe going to talk to the other agent or listen to what they have to say because you're going to think that's such a savings and such a value. When in fact, it's very likely that number one, you could potentially lose a lot because that agent, if that's the best negotiating skill they have, what they've shown you is that they are willing to sacrifice their worth. They can't even substantiate their worth to you when they're talking to you about listing their house, but yet you're going to hire them to be able to substantiate worth and negotiate against another agent in a transaction. How are they going to fare to be able to do that if they can't even show their own worth? And you're thinking that that's a huge value. And then what you find out later is the photos maybe are taken with an iPhone, not even a video is done. Nothing is spent online to market. No ads are run. No extra marketing is done
correct.
because you hired a discount agent. Are
Yep.
you making more money at the end of the day? No, but it looks like it. It looks like it. And so that agent doesn't know how to compete in the ring. So they're hoping that you're going to look at the penny smart, but dollar stupid at the end of the day. What does that equate to?
So I'm working with one of those right now. We close tomorrow, and it has been such a rough ride. We
Mhm.
could close on Friday. Let me just say, our contract date is May 13th. I'm already ahead of schedule, like beyond ahead of
Of course.
schedule. I could have been even more ahead of schedule on Friday, and they could have had this weekend. But the listing agent, I've received an email. This agent is no longer to be um, communicated with, and he stepped aside. That's what I
Oh,
got.
that's great.
So he gets 1% of the deal. The deal is $715,000. He gets 1%. Now the buyer's agent negotiates something different. He got 2.5%. Good for him. But that listing agent, we could have had this VA loan close in 2 weeks. They actually gave me 45 days, which I didn't need. So that's why I'm early because I didn't need 45 days.
Right.
But yeah, I had a discount listing agent who wouldn't get me any documents, and we had to
Oh,
fight and scramble, and if we woulda had that, we coulda closed. We had everything done. My buyers were on top of it. They're just newly retired, Navy and no, Marines. No, Navy. He's Navy. I have another Marine right now, but, he's Navy, and he just got me all the his documentation immediate, never skipped a beat, was on time, probably before a time that I'm used to, which is fantastic, but that discount listing agent drug his feet,
because
and
he
it
doesn't
wasn't.
care. He doesn't have to care. He's got to get 100 transactions
Mhm.
just to make any money because he's doing 1%. So you get what you
Yeah,
pay for.
yeah,
Ferraris don't go on sale for a reason. Lambos never have a sale. You're not going to find a sale. There's a reason for that. You do get what you pay for. It's the same. I don't care what industry you look at. It's
mhm.
going to be the same. Even doctors, when you go to a doctor office these days,
Oh, yeah.
these
Do you
general
want that?
practitioners, no, general practitioners, it's sad though, they're not making as much money as they used to. Insurance has gotten tough. They have to rack them and stack them. They have to see so many patients to make money. So your level of care is what is the issue, right? Because they got to be quick in and out with you. So
But
unless
it's
you go to
going down.
yes,
We
you
all
go to a
know it.
specialist, you may have to pay for it. I go to a functional med doc. A lot of what I have done, I have to pay out of pocket for because insurance doesn't cover all the testing and things. However, I want to be healthy. So I look at that as what's more important than being healthy? Literally nothing. So I'm going to pay for that because it's worth it. And I'm not going to just go where my insurance may cover everything, but yet I'm not getting what I need. I don't
Yeah.
see a value if I'm still sick, if I'm still feeling like crap. Where's the value just because it was less? So it's less money for me to still feel crappy? What? It doesn't
Right?
even make sense.
Right?
Right?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
So it's the same in every industry. You get what you pay for. Attorneys, you get what you pay for. You know, I mean,
Oh,
CPAs, don't get a CPA that's super, super cheap and end up in jail.
or won't write a letter when you need a letter written. That's
Right?
another deal of mine right now. A CPA doesn't want to do their job. I actually had to have my 6-year-old type up the well, I verbally said what I wanted to say, and she typed it up when she came
Yeah.
to work with me. But yeah, no, no, CPA is wonderful.
Yeah.
Need a good CPA.
We can't lose our industry to real estate. It doesn't even matter. Even if I wasn't a real estate agent, I would understand that concept. Competition is good for the consumer. It's always been that way. That's why monopolies are illegal because they understand what happens when one entity has too much power. It is not good. It is
Yeah.
not good. And I understand that Zillow has built this amazing marketing platform. They have offered so much to consumers and made it so easy that they think it's like you're like real estate agents are sitting in a vending machine and we're just waiting for them to push the button and we fall out and run and show them a house, right? Oh, I want to see this house. They push a button, boop, we fall out of a machine, boop, we go show the house. Like, no, no, no,
No,
no.
it doesn't work that
That's
way.
not how that's not how it goes. there's there's more to it than that.
Slightly.
Right. And there's again, that would take us into so many other concepts, which we can talk about it another day. But
And as you were talking, I was looking over here to my right, just kind of on Reddit, just kind of seeing what people are saying about this compass, their opinions of how just a conversation. So I found this fascinating, if you don't mind me bringing this up.
yeah, I'd love to
So
hear
I
it.
don't.
Reddit always they spit truth. They don't hold back.
Well, and yeah, the people comment, it's so one person made a comment, homes.com sent me an email about this. Like even other platforms are making this well known what's happening
Mhm.
between Zillow and Compass. I find that interesting that homes.com actually sent that as an email. Let's see, what else are they saying? It's not just, no, that one's not
Well,
right.
think about it. Homes.com maybe wants to try to take some market share from Zillow, like try to make them look bad. Like, look at Zillow. They refuse to do that. We don't do that. They might be trying to pull some of the consumer attention off of Zillow, and now they can ride in with the cape saying Zillow does this, but we won't. I mean, everyone's going to try. There's a big shuffle happening right now, and everyone's trying to play the musical chairs, and who's going to end up on top
Yeah,
is where we're
and
at.
a lot of the Reddit comments right now is talking about greed. That's an interesting word.
Yeah,
That Compass and Zillow are both acting greedy and trying to act exclusive when it's all doing is lessening the pool of buyers for sellers.
right.
So that's
Well, Compass is
mostly,
being greedy, and Zillow is being petty because they're saying they won't put it on there at all if that
I
is done. That's
mean,
like they're you're in timeout with Zillow and your listing isn't going. So then they did make it, but Zillow did make it clear, I should say, if you remove your listing from that agent or from that agency and you go to somewhere else, so if you realize you were part of Compass and you realize now, and they didn't tell you, I hope that Compass is at least telling people, by the way, nobody's going to see your listing on Zillow or realtor.com, just so you know. Okay. So maybe they didn't find that out. They didn't tell them, or they didn't hear it, or they didn't see it, whatever in the contract. I'm assuming it's got to be there. They go on Zillow thinking, okay, I'm seeing my listing. Woo, so excited.
and
It's
it's
not
not
there.
there.
Why is my listing not there on Zillow? Doing an open house. Why is it not on Zillow? And then they find out, oh, it's not going to be on Zillow. Here's why. So if you
Yeah.
decide to remove your listing, if you break your contract, you get out of your contract, you probably say, hey, I didn't know that, whatever. You leave them and you go to, let's say, me at EXP, and I list your house. Now it can go on Zillow. Zillow will let you on is if you leave them. So again, jealous boyfriend
Yeah. And it keeps
situation.
going. Zillow's just being a bully because it's threatened their business model.
Yeah, they don't
Same
want to
thing.
have that little bit that they are narcissistic and they want all of it. They're not
There's,
happy with 85%. They want 100.
yeah, there's quite a few swear words in here too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Beep Zillow. Beep,
Yeah.
like, oh, interesting.
I also though think people should realize, like with Compass, they're also operating outside. I mean, I guess we could all do it, except EXP won't do it. So we're not going to apparently be doing that because EXP's already said they won't do that because they believe in it's not it's they believe it's against the fair sharing. But again, like I said, it is legal if you follow NAR's set upon rules for pocket listings. It is legal. I do think for agents, it's a bit of a bummer if you're not able to show your buyer a home because you're not part of that brokerage. And if all the brokerages did it, it wouldn't give you, I mean, it wouldn't help you at all because it's like, well, Compass is showing you theirs, and KW has their own, and Coldwell Banker has theirs, and all of them have their own networks. At the end of the day, they're trying to create exclusivity for people, and they should just. I think it would be nice if they just did their job, marketed the property, and did the best for their sellers, which is essentially putting it out to
What?
get the best
Yeah.
opportunity for the seller. That's what it is.
It,
And so I'm glad that EXP, I'm glad to be part of a company that does understand that because at the end of the day, that to me is the truth. There are people that will people in Compass will probably disagree. But I just think that it's not the best thing for the sellers if the sellers understand what's going on. So I can do that for them too. I can do a pocket listing. I'm allowed
yeah.
to do it. I can sell off market. EXP doesn't say that I can't. It's just they aren't telling us we can't do it. They're just saying they agree that Zillow's got a point. Maybe they're just trying to stay in Zillow's good graces. I have no idea because that's going to be a good thing down the road. I don't know. But Zillow's not going anywhere, that's for sure. I think we all agree on that. It would be really hard to kick Zillow out of the ring at this point. It would be really tough. They would have to fail miserably in the court of public opinion because people just go to Zillow. Homes.com though. Because what's his face? David from Schitt's Creek. Have you seen the commercials? What's his real
Yeah.
name?
So,
He's doing, and with Morgan Freeman, they're doing the homes.com. Like, I love him. They're doing a big campaign right now to try and pull
they are. And even
attention.
apartment.com, are they owned by the same company, Homes and Apartment?
I,
Feel
I don't
like
know.
they are.
I think apartment.com doesn't have much competition because real estate agents aren't involved in that at all. So we don't really have a say. Apartments
No,
don't.
that's more on the landlord tenant side.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do have competition, but it's not um
Not with
in
agents
our
or
world.
right.
So I'm
Right.
wondering homes.com, that would be a good um look up because I actually
Can we
don't know
research that?
that one.
Yeah.
Anybody here who wants to look that up?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Or look at it, or if you're watching this later, feel free to drop it in the comments. Also, if you're on, drop comments on what you'd like us to chat about with real estate questions that you might have, thoughts that you might have. If you want to know where we think real estate's going, if you have a specific question, while Cece's looking at that, let us know where you're from too, because I like looking at different parts of the country and seeing where they're at. There's a very different market going on. One thing about Michigan, we may not have the best weather, but I will tell you, um, when you look at the country, a lot of the country is seeing decline in median sales price or different scenarios. Michigan is not. We're actually doing pretty well. Like our pricing is holding. Um, it's a state where we're doing for sellers and buyers. It's good to be in Michigan right now. We have a lot of people coming back to Michigan, I think, too, from Florida, unfortunately, because of the weather
The higher, yeah.
and the
Yeah.
the weather caused situations with the HOA fees and the insurance, and people can no longer afford to live in Florida. And that's why a friend sent me, oh my gosh, look at all these listings under 200,000 in Fort Lauderdale. And I'm like, honey, baby girl, they could give me a house in Fort Lauderdale. The HOA on that house, because I looked it up, was 1,100 a month. It's like 1,100, 1,000 to 2,000 a month HOA fees, and that does not include special assessments if they're in those condo buildings. Because that's what these were, their buildings, because of the whole Miami
Oh,
issue with the
there's
slide.
condo assessments. They just don't know it
Older,
yet.
well, and older buildings. This is what I found out because I've dug deep. If they're newer, they're kind of safe, more safe from the special assessments in a way, because a lot of those special assessments just go to the new legislation after that, like that whole Miami debacle where that whole building just
Building
collapsed.
just collapse.
They have
Yes.
all these new criteria, and now all these old buildings have to go through this inspection process, and when they fall short they have to do all the things to get back up to par, special assessment, right? And that's what's happening. So it's like the older the building, I forget
The
what
more
year, the
likelihood.
more likely you're gonna get hit, so
Yeah.
spending more to get a newer place that may not have that. I don't know what the date is. We need to find out what the date, built after a certain date, is kind of like free of it, but not free of it completely, but they just aren't like under the scrutiny right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the thing. Different parts of the country are seeing different types of markets. So Florida is definitely a buyer's market right now, almost the entire state. Even parts of the state that aren't under and in the red for year over year or month over month, even sales, and there's about a year of inventory um in Florida right now. In most places they have 100. I looked at today, instead of 172,000, now it's 177,000 listings in Florida. It's the top. Texas has 113,000, and then third is California at like
Wow.
57,000. The top 10 states with the most inventory just sitting. Michigan's not on that list. So we're actually, usually in Michigan, we're kind of like an underdog with the
Woohoo! We're
weather.
doing good.
We're actually doing really good for Michigan real estate. Yes, we can actually like put our little hands up, woo woo. Just because we don't get the national, not guns, we don't get those natural disasters. What was, I mean, yes, you could have a tornado here, but we're not going to have volcanoes or hurricanes. So,
Barely. If we have a touchdown,
volcanoes, we're not having a volcano. There
it
will not be
lasts
a
like a
tsunami.
second.
Yeah.
But okay, so let me answer the question that was posed earlier. Homes.com is not owned by apartments.com. They have an umbrella company that is the same. So it's CoStar Group actually owns homes.com, apartments.com, forrent.com, and apartmentfinder.com. So
Oh,
they
oh, that's right.
actually own
Apartment finder.
all of that. That's why in my head I'm
Okay.
like, okay, those are sister companies or some type of company. So they
Right.
are sister companies under the umbrella of CoStar Group.
Okay. So that makes
Yes.
sense.
So they're data mining that area. So they have their
Yeah.
foot on in the their foot a little bit in the real estate world, but it looks like they're more into landlord tenant and apartments or
Okay.
homes for rent. But the
Right.
rental aspect of the industry.
Right.
Even though you can
Good to
find
know.
rentals on Zillow. That's why
Not apartments though. I don't think they have apartments on Zillow, just rent house rentals, right?
condos. No, yeah, Zillow
Yeah,
has
just single
apartments.
family rentals, not
Nope.
apartments.
Yep, Zillow has apartments.
They do?
They do.
I've never seen that.
Yep. You have to there's a
See, I
filter
don't
for
spend
it.
time on Zillow though. The only time I go to Zillow is if I'm looking for something out of state.
Yeah, they want it
That's
all.
where it works. And again, so even me as a real estate agent, I will say there is a value to Zillow, but that's really all it is to me is if I because I have everything on the MLS, why would I go to Zillow? And Zillow's data is often wrong because
Yes.
they will add the square footage of the basement that's finished and add it to the square footage of the rest of the home. So sometimes people will be like, I don't want a 5,000 square foot house. And I'm like, that's not 5,000 square foot. It's 3,000 like you wanted. Well, 2,000 of it is finished in the basement, and Zillow decides to add it together. And that's the number that you see. So
Mhm.
either people get excited and think, wow, 5,000 square foot house for, this is a great deal. And they realize, no, no,
Nope, it's
that's not it.
less.
Or they
Mhm.
are like, whoa, I don't want that much square footage. And then they just swoop past it. So again, Zillow's not, they get a lot of things wrong. So I just go to the MLS personally. That's what I
It's a
recommend anybody to do.
preference.
Yeah. But if
Yeah.
someone says, I want to know about Gatlinburg, Tennessee, well, I don't have the MLS. So yeah, in that respect, Zillow could be, it's almost like going to the dictionary or the concordance or, the library for information, you know, not be the only source. I can say it can stay as a source, but it can't be the only source.
Yeah.
It's not good for business. It's not good for the consumers. And that is my feelings.
Yes.
That's how I feel about that.
Cheers to that.
Cheers
Cheers.
to that.
There you
My
go.
girl boss cup.
Yes. Mine's
Tiny little drip of
this
coffee I had left.
Starbucks. This mug this mug is almost I wanna date it, and I hope I don't date myself. This is almost, like, 24 years old. I've
Really?
had this mug forever,
Wow.
forever, and every time I do a mug purge, it's always lasted. So this one's been with me. It's longer
And
than a
you've
lot
worn
of
it 20.
relationships I've been in.
Yeah. I know, right? Almost everything in my closet is a longer relationship than most relationships I've had. You can count on my
Ah,
shoes. Those boots were made for walking and they've gotten me through. All those times I had to walk, baby, walk.
keep
Run.
going.
Run.
Well, on that note, cheers to Tuesday at 2.
I like Tuesday at
We
2.
Tuesday at 2, you'll see me more here in my office than anywhere else because this is when I'm here at my brick and mortar majority of the time. So you'll see me between this location in my house. Maybe once in a while in the car. We got to really discuss summer coming up and what that looks like for everybody's schedule, even our audience. So if you have a recommendation, let us know. But we're here to give you value, education, and knowledge within the real estate world. And on that side, I am the lender, and Holly is a real estate agent. This is her channel. I'm just very blessed to be a part of this one.
Well, thank you, but you have a channel as well, and we need to get people on your channel.
I know I
Talk
have to go live. I
let's
have
talk
to do that.
mortgages. Let's talk mortgages, right?
Yes.
Let's talk
Yes.
mortgages and see much yes get simple home lending. And I'm Holly Amato with EXP. I'm licensed here in Michigan, and we're both also licensed in Florida too. So we're also you'll hear us talk about that as well. We would like even though Florida's there's some issues going down in Florida right now. People will
Mhm.
always still love Florida,
Oh,
so we
yes.
can be called upon for that. So yes, we typically go live. We were going live 6:30 on Tuesdays. This was our first time trying out Tuesday at 2. Has a nice ring to it. It is getting into summer, so we're both going to be more busier, especially at that time of night. That's probably when I'll be running around doing more appointments and showings. So please let us know though in the comments if you have questions or comments or anything you'd like to see us do in a future podcast show, we would love to do it. And make sure to subscribe and tap the bell for notifications so you always know when new episodes are posted or when we go live.
Yes.
That being said, everybody be blessed. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.